What we've done in previous meetings is just started to focus clearly on creating for ourselves a stable group, which is a group knowing what it's doing, who it is, what we're about. We're trying to get very solid by doing that. And there's a style of interaction that we're developing so that that stable, grounded approach is what we start with, where we're building our foundations. And we're going further into that process today. We last time discussed the name, what it means when we say Elven, what we mean by the word star. What is a star? And we found that a star is a symbol that represents the principle of guidance. And our star has 7 points, and that makes it different from other stars. That significant difference being of 7 rather than much more commonly 5 or sometimes 6. This difference of 7 is the difference that makes the difference, and we're going to look into that today in great detail. We've discussed what the word magic means, and it's not ill-defined at all. It's very specific. Magic is that process whereby we create a special atmosphere, and we know how to do that, and we can do that at will. We decide when and how to create a particular kind of atmosphere, and within that atmosphere we can then present a clear intention with the expectation of realizing our intention in manifested form. So we have the yin aspect of magic, creating the atmosphere, and the yang aspect being very specific about what we intend. This is what we mean when we use the word magic, and it's spelt with a K to distinguish it from tricks on stage. There are various qualities of being a magician, and we discussed those in some depth, and we actually developed a questionnaire to see how we were with that, how strong we are. And we found various things, pretty much ordinary things actually, we have to get right before we even start looking into the special aspects of magic. Things like being on top of our worldly situations, being capable of meeting obligations, having social skills, being centered in the heart sometimes, being decisive, being clear of our life direction.
Which states is this? New York?
New Jersey. Oh, this is New York.
Loic, could you mute? Otherwise we can hear everything.
Sorry.
Or M1.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, today what I'd like to do is to create a sense of a protecting force. And the idea of invoking that force is a really strong aspect of magic. And that can be a guardian angel, that can be a spirit guide, that can be a spirit animal. And what I'd like to do is to open up a discussion to see if we can reach consensus on what we will adopt as our protection and guide for this group. And I mentioned that we were going to do this last time, so I've given you a chance to think about what that might be. And I've got a few ideas of my own, but I want this to be something that we can all feel we have arrived at collectively, so that we're beginning to create group consciousness and saying really to each other and ourselves and that higher presence that the highest representation of group consciousness has now got a name. We've named it. So what we're trying to do is to name the spirit of this group's beingness, this group soul being created. And it's not yet obvious. it will become more and more so, because what we're doing right now, we're closing this group so that we will get to know each other very well, and that will develop familiarity, from which will come trust. We'll know our weaknesses and our strengths and our idiosyncrasies, and we'll know what we mean when we say things. We won't get prickly about somebody saying something in a sharp way. That's how they speak. You know, we're just getting a sense of each other as individuals that we can trust. And without that sense of mutuality of trust, then we cannot build a group which is safe. And by developing from that position of mutual respect and trust, we can then notice that something arises, the magic of the group, which is what I'm calling the group soul. And I think what we're trying to do in this exercise today is to give that a name, even before we felt it. So it's a very tricky exercise indeed. You know, we can't name something that we can identify, and yet we can't really identify it until we've named it. You know, so what other groups do in this context is they invoke something traditional. And I have often been in the presence of a leader who has invoked the name of Hermes Trismegistus. And I've come across that often, but I don't have a relationship with that being. I think it relates to the archetypal principle of Mercury. I've read a little bit about it, but I don't feel any love. I don't feel any empowerment. I can't get it. I've used the unicorn very much more frequently than anything else, as the overarching guardian and protector and guide of all my spiritual work and magical work. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know some of you have used different symbols, and we want to open that up for discussion today. So Richard, perhaps you'll guide us through a process whereby each person can share what they want to about this whole principle of a guardian and protector.
Sure. Okay. So as James has indicated and said, we've all had a chance to think about this based on last week's email. So is anybody keen to begin, or shall we just go around? I can't see any hands raised. So, oh, well done, Seda. Thank you.
From the last week till today, I just checked some point of view from my region to the seven-pointed star. My internet connection so bad, so if there will be any drop, the seven-pointed star is also the fairies and magic also in our region. We do believe that it's the also meaning of the seven floors of heaven. And the first surah of the Quran is Fatiha. Also
sorry, you've frozen. We can't hear you.
Learn from, did we miss beginning?
No, from a short time ago. I think that specifically what James is looking for is suggestions for what we collectively might call this protective force that we want to invoke. So do you have specific suggestions about that?
No, not specific. We will we will think together.
Okay. Okay. So anyone else got specific suggestions on what we might call this? Tansy.
So I've been feeling, in fact, this woman has been calling to me very strongly over, I'd say, the last month and probably before that. However, I wasn't necessarily looking in the direction. And that is Mary Magdalene, who I resonate very strongly with.
Okay.
So yeah, Mary Magdalene, quite
Okay.
literally.
Okay. Thank you. Others? Yes, Heidi.
Hi. First of all, thank you, Pansy. I actually wrote her down in my list because I've been listening to her and the Rose for quite a while now. I wanted to suggest something more etheric. I've been working with the 7 rays of light, and the 7th ray of light is one in esoteric astrology. It's mentioned that we are having a lot more incarnations on this ray. It's the ray of ceremonial magic and rhythmic existence. And its color is violet. And the lord of this ray is Saint Germain, but that's like a physical person. It's said to be the reincarnation of Francis Bacon, Saint Paul, all these people. But there is an energy that goes with this ray, and it is the violet flame. And sometimes in meditation, I see a little violet flame. So yeah, that's my suggestion.
Violet flame.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you. So others?
Mandy was looking to speak.
Sorry,
Thanks,
I missed that. Sorry.
Okay. So I definitely, when you first sent the email, I definitely had Hermes in my mind first all, and big go home, go bigger, big home, go home. And I guess it's the Mars conjunction is right on my Mercury today. So, and I did a shamanic journey once, and he appeared to me just shockingly. He was in gold from head to toe, just absolutely magnificent. But if you're not comfortable with that, James, my second pick would be Pam.
Okay. Thank you. Hermes and Pam. So any other suggestions? Peter?
Well, mine are probably a bit different. I go for an animal, the bear. If on another side, I would use a rainbow for protection.
Okay. Bear and rainbow. Thank you. Alvaro?
Well, if we are, if we are looking for all these characteristics of beauty and splendor and victory, I thought about the 7th Sephira, which is Venus, no? The Netzach, it's color green, and it kind of makes sense for me to think about her. So that's another idea. There is an archangel there as well, no? Haniel, I believe it is. So that could be another force behind the Sephir.
Yep. Thank you. So Sharon, any thoughts, comments?
So I quite like the idea of the rose. I'm not sure if I'm freezing because I'm breaking up on my own side. But I quite like the idea of the rose because it has both the beauty, the thorns, the strength of stem, the rootedness, and the reaching for the air. So I quite liked that one. But my personal preference for any kind of protection is nearly always in the dragon realm, but that's because it's my lineage. So, you know, maybe say the violet dragon or something like that to bring in other people's preferences. Incidentally, Peter, I did have a polar bear this morning come to visit, so maybe the bear.
Okay, Silvana.
I don't have any thoughts of my own on the matter, but I did really resonate with the idea of the bear. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And Loic.
It feels strange for me to kind of give my idea because everything I tend to personalize everything to my own journey. I resonate a lot with spiritual father and Venus as spiritual mother. That's personally because I have a personal connection with those two.
Yeah.
So that the blue flame and the will, my will is really what fragrance everything that I do. At the same time, I just can just share that because that's what I resonate with. I don't know how it could blend in with the energy of the group, but yeah, that's me.
Okay, thank you. So a wide spectrum of suggestions, James. How do you want to try and narrow this down somehow?
Would you like to add something to the mix?
Yes, my suggestions are 7, Elven Star, and Sabian Mystery. And yours?
Well, I included the elf without knowing what I meant by that, but looking into what might represent the elven energy, and the spirit of 7 seems to be important and central. I also had a version of Pan. I give the name Puck to Pan. It's the same, and his consort Bridie. So in my garden, I have temples to Puck and Bridie. So that's Pan as far as I'm concerned. The unicorn I mentioned, Hermes I mentioned, and most of the energy involved in this work that I'm doing comes from a distant star system that I call Asterion. I can't really talk about it to describe it, but I align my own spiritual inspiration with Asterion. And I think that most of us here are coming from a place where we have personal preferences, personal guides, and so on, and that's great. It's really wonderful that even by speaking of them today, we have brought them to bear upon our work together. We're all able to respect each other a little bit more, and a little bit particularly by having done that. However, I think we need to somehow work towards something else, something collective, something that we're all ascribing to together. And in some ways, what Richard has just said makes a lot of sense. We've already done it. We've called ourselves Sabian Mysteries, and we're studying the number 7 in the Elven Star. So that's inevitable anyway. And our sigil will be the star. That's can you see? Oh, there you go. That's the sigil that we're using. So the invocation that we're using will be backed up by this symbol. Anybody changing their position? Moving away from, yeah, Peter.
Just as I just came up with the idea of 7-11. We're 11 people and 7-pointed star, but it's sort of the name's already taken commercially, but it would be a good way to hide ourselves.
Well, we're not going to be stuck at 11. There are people who have been invited that will turn up later, I think. And I don't like the idea of having something which is associated with a different realm, different energy. It's rather amusing. Anybody softening their position? We need to move towards consensus. Have you ever tried to create consensus out of a big group?
Yes, it's extremely difficult.
It's quite a process. I mean, that's what we're doing. So let's just understand that that's what we're doing. At the end of this process, we will all be very happy with what we've come up with, or we haven't done the process. And if we can't do this, then we can't practice at a high level. So Heidi.
I'm very comfortable with any star, any light, any planet. Yes, Venus has been with me for many, many years. I study her every day. So, and any star basically seems very benevolent to me and always a guardian. Yes, my position is totally softened. I'm willing to open up to any of the suggestions made today.
I think I'm with Heidi. I think I'm comfortable with anything really. I think I am to a certain. I think I'd stay if I wasn't, but essentially I'm happy to kind of just take a back seat and just go with the flow. Unless I really don't like it, and then I'll let you know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, if you really don't like it, then we can't have consensus. I think that's important that we all at least don't object, but I'd like to go to a higher level than that. Richard.
Tansy spoke first and was followed by Heidi, both of whom mentioned Mary Magdalene. I think the point I'd like to make is if we can avoid what I associate with gender terminology, I would prefer that. Loic smiling.
Does Hermes have a gender?
Not in my mind.
Does Pan?
Yes.
Venus?
I'm okay with Venus. Yeah, and I'm okay with Pan and Hermes, actually.
So
maybe it was just Mary Magdalene I wasn't comfortable with.
She's a woman.
Why?
Oh, different discussion.
It's to do with Christianity, though, isn't
it? Possibly.
Are you happy with Saint Germain?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not Christianity, but anyway, all right. I hear you. I like the energy of Magdalene. That made me feel good to hear that. Also, the rose. I like that suggestion. You know, some of these things touched me. Did you have that feeling? Some of these names, they kind of made a difference. Oh yeah, I like that one. Oh, I don't like that one. Did you have any of those kind of reactions? Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, I like the rose too. That made sense to me. Just sort of in relation to it made good sense to me. That touched me.
It's interesting that you could kind of, I would personify the rose with Mary Magdalene. Like the attributes of a rose is kind of Mary Magdalene. So I really resonate with the rose.
For me, the rose is the kind of different parts of our heart as well. So I see the male, female, the kind of unity and the stillness as four that I've identified, and the aspects of the rose bring that.
Okay, so a few votes for the rose then. I also say I liked the idea of the velvet flame. That put me into a really elevated state when that story was being told. I forget who said it. That was Heidi, was it? Did you mention the violet flame?
Yes, I mentioned.
I like that one.
I like that too, and Venus. I'm feeling Venus and the violet flame. And the bear, actually. Feeling the bear.
You like them all.
I know. I like all of them.
Okay, so anybody feeling strongly that they'd like to argue their point a bit? They'd like to promote their ideas. Is anybody feeling, quite strongly now about anything? Let's hear some strength of argument, not just polite little suggestions. Persuade us.
I do like the velvet flame idea. It happened the same to me when Heidi said that. Yeah, that's really well. If we meditate, we might have had that light, that color, all of us from time to time. No, so I do like that idea as well.
Mandy.
I'm still stuck on Pan because I think he's, of all the suggestions, the really closest to an elven nature. And
Yes,
he's
yeah.
the spirit of the forest and the glens, that nature spirit, deity, whichever.
Yeah, it's a very magical image, Pan, isn't it?
Mhm.
And it's offensive to quite a lot of good people, the people think of themselves as good. They don't like Pan, which is in his favor as far as I'm concerned. I live next door to some Christians, and I put this image of Pan in my garden right next to them. And they said, what's that, James? Oh, a feature, garden feature. Oh, okay. Peter.
This subject of protector, I mean, doesn't it have something to do with the nature of the magic that you're doing? Because I know for me, it would make sense to know what, in which direction we're going. The protector, like I can understand with Pan as well, but it depends on what direction we're talking about in relation to magic, because sort of like the violet flame, it makes more sense in a general sense. But
to be honest, I think what we're doing is tiptoeing in various directions to see which is the direction that we're going to go in. We're deciding that if we actually invoke a rose or Pan or Venus, they will magnetize us towards them. We'll go in that direction. That's why we're doing this, to decide which direction we want to move into. We're collecting together to study magic rather than enact a spell. We're actually learning the process rather than trying to attain a result. That's our setup. That's our articles of association, as it were. But we don't have a decision about what we're doing yet. And by choosing this name, that will focus us in a particular direction.
There's part of me that says I'd prefer something I don't already know, like green or bear or rainbow. I have associations with those words. But if we talk about the violet flame, Venus is okay. I would prefer something that we don't know, that we're trying to discover and uncover.
And do you know Hermes? Do you know Pan?
No.
Do you know the rose as an archetype?
As an archetype.
Well, we weren't invoking the flower, were we?
I would say no. No.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting. The rose is a Venus flower. It's a 5. It's oriented by the number 5, so it's associated. The whole family of rose family is associated with Venus. Just if that helps.
Helps argue against. We're not working with 5. We're working with 7. That's already decided. I speak plainly, sir.
Well, that's all right. I mean, most roses that we see don't have 5 petals. They're very rare to see simple roses. People sort of get infatuated with having many petals rather than simple rose petals, but that's okay.
I do know of a plant that has 7 leaves very often, mostly when it's depicted. We could use that one. It's of the hemp family.
Fig. Yeah.
That was a light-hearted comment.
It went
So-
well, it went down well.
It did, didn't it? You know. So Mandy was arguing strongly in favor of Pan. She's disappeared, I think.
Yeah.
Can anybody else respond to my request to argue strongly in favor of their suggestion? I've got the violent flame, I've got Pan, I've got the rose having been reasserted. Can we add to that?
I resonate with all of these. I mean, Venus, like as a Libra rising, I love Venus. Venus is super strong in my chart. I'm a florist. I work with roses. I have a whole wall of them drying over there. And yeah, my name Sylvana means of the forest. Pan really resonates. So I'll argue for all of them.
Lovely. Well, let's start creating a different list. I've put down rose, violet, flame, and pan. Could you tell me if you want to add a particular name to that list? Do you have a preference over one of those 3 that you'd like to be considered?
I
Which is-
personally
let me-
think, sorry.
Well, okay, Tansy, speak, yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, I actually don't know anything about Pan. I feel like I probably would really resonate with Pan, but I feel like I'd need to go and do some research before I'm really happy with that, if that makes sense.
Well, what I understand of Pan is that it's the goat god. It's very definitely sexual, masculine image. It's naughty in that it has no pretensions to obedience to any regulations. It's the if you think of the natural processes of life, there are 2 distinct interactive and polarizing forces, and one of them is that there is rhythm in nature, and that's the predictable, the controlled, and it's known to be in some pagan circles to be aligned with the May Queen, the feminine principle. And the masculine principle is that which changes everything rhythmic to something not quite right, the anarchist principle, and that's Lord Puck or Pan.
I'm sold. No, yeah, I'm feeling Pan.
Okay, well, Pan's on the list. Does anybody want to add anything to the list of these 3, rose, violet, flame, and Pan? You're all happy with one of these 3? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. I'm surprised that I haven't said anything myself, as it happens, but there we go. And you're sure, Richard, that your suggestions can be ditched in favor of one of these 3?
I'm happy to go along with one of these 3, and I'm just wondering, does it have to be one? Could it not be all 3?
They're very different. The rose does align with beauty. It embraces the more soft aspect of beauty. There isn't anything quite as soft and precious and vulnerable as a rose petal. And indeed, it's the perfume of the rose that we mostly celebrate. And yet there's this power and danger in the thorn that represents the strength, you know, so that's a composite image in terms of masculine and feminine, which works quite well. And it's of the natural kingdom. Pan, I've just described, also in a sense relating to the natural kingdom, but definitely a god, whereas the rose isn't a god, you know, but Pan is a god. The violet flame is very ethereal. It's even higher than the perfume of the rose. You know, the perfume of the rose has a minimal amount of physicality, but it is physical. But the violet flame is actually, I know it could be physical, but it actually refers to a state of transcendental meditation in my personal history. It's what my Sufi teacher used as the very highest thing you did just before launching yourself into the transcendental realm. It was the last thing you did, the violet flame. So that's the highest energy, I think, of the three. The rose is probably the most earthy, and Pan is a god, therefore in the seventh plane on one level, but it's the earth god, however, distinctly masculine. Your comments, please. Speak, Sharon. Nothing?
I don't think I have anything to add, really. I would be happy with any of them. It feels to me almost as if I don't. In saying what I'm about to say, I'm arguing for the rose, which I don't necessarily want to do, but it feels to me as if I would like to step away from gender. I would like to step away from a male, from something that is specifically seen as any gender, to be fair.
Heidi.
Yes, I actually resonate with what was just said, and also what Tansy was saying, that like Pan, I do not know enough about this energy, and the idea of a masculine force speaks to me less than the other two we have selected. Like I'd be fine with anything that is a plant spirit, or like a unicorn is absolutely beautiful for me. It's related to the violet flame, which is also group consciousness, and which is used in ceremonial traditions as well nowadays. So I resonate more with an energy. I love the rose as well, but I do agree with James that it's completely different. It has more of like the mystery of the times in it. Yes, so my heart goes more towards the other two than towards Pan.
Okay, can I speak a little bit more of the unicorn then, since somebody else has mentioned it? I feel encouraged to talk more of the unicorn. In August 1987, on the anniversary of the death of Elvis Presley, but that was an incidental, a group of people around the world, 144,000 strong, did a particular meditation in the solar cross, a big circle and a big cross. And we were on the land, there was 100 of us meditating. And this was the harmonic convergence that came out of the work of Jose Arguelles, the Mayan prophecy. And it was a really big deal. And it set the stage for 25 years of healing and esoteric work and magical work. And I was within that energy. And it was so powerful. When we'd finished the meditation, we all went back to our tents, and I saw a horse walking along the road, and the horse could not pass the point on the road adjacent to our meditative circle. The horse had to go a couple of miles around the house. It wouldn't cross it. It was such a powerful meditation. And if I meet somebody today who was on that camp doing that meditation, that's what we'll talk about. So of all the group meditations I've done, that was the one that sticks out. Now, after having done that meditation, I went to live alone in a very secluded place. I had no cooking equipment, so I had no vehicle. I was just trying to make my fire from the wood I could find, and I was back to nature for a while. And I was beside the campfire one evening, and I saw a vision, and I'd never had a vision in my life before, and the vision was of a unicorn. And I'd been on various shamanic journeys beforehand and looking for my power animal, and I kept on getting a unicorn previous to this, and I kept on saying, piss off, you know. I suppose I'm the reincarnation of Henry VIII as well, you know. So I thought a unicorn was just too fanciful, and eventually I got a goat, and I said, okay, right, a goat, I'll have a goat, that suits me better. Only to find the very next day that the goat and the unicorn are both symbols of Capricorn, my ascendant. So I thought, all right, they want me to have a unicorn as my power animal, so I'll take the unicorn. And I did, and everything I've done since then has been in the name of the unicorn, including this work. I didn't want to promote it more strongly because it is so personal to me. But there is about the unicorn a very profound range of symbolism. It is used in government, British coat of arms. It is used in business frequently. Lots of businesses are called unicorn. It is used by children to play with. You know, they like pink and fluffy ones, and it is used by the pagans to invoke the spirit, which is, I think, a blend of both the masculine and the feminine principles, the May Queen and the Green Man. And I've always shied away from using Pan as the energy because of its gender specific imagery. And the unicorn has a very strong masculine side to it. It's got a, you know, it's got a single horn on its third eye. It's very definitely a masculine image, and yet it's white, and it lies down. It lays its head in the lap of a virgin. And this image of the unicorn and the virgin is not simply Western. The Chinese call the unicorn the Qi Lin, and that Qi is Qi, and Lin is the word for woman. So they call the unicorn man woman. And our unicorn is always tied up with the virgin. And to some extent, the Christians have adopted it as an image of Christ because of that. So you've got the marriage of the male and the female inherent within one symbol, and that symbol is universal. So I've always enjoyed the unicorn as being my protector and guide. Thank you.
Heidi.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, I'm getting really enthusiastic about this unicorn as well, because astrologically we will have Venus for 5 months in Capricorn, beautifying the archetype. So, and it said that white horses come from Venus. I don't know if that's a myth, but it seems to tie in beautifully. Just wanted to add that.
I think at the moment we're excluding Pan because it's too masculine. Sadly, Tansy. I quite enjoy it. And we're left with unicorn, rose, and violet flame at this point. Unless anybody speaks in favor of something else, can we decide that it will be one of those three? I'm hearing nothing but seeing nods. I'll take that as a yes. We're going for one of those three. Does anybody object to any of them? The rose, the violet flame, and the unicorn. Nobody objects. Anybody have a clear preference for one of them?
The unicorn.
I got one vote for the unicorn. Have I got another? Is Richard saying unicorns? That was your nod?
Yep.
Is that Heidi's nod? Yeah. I'll add mine to that. So it's time to speak up for the rose and the violet flame. If any supporters of that want to speak up. Those of you who haven't spoken in favor of the unicorn, is that okay? Are we going towards unicorn?
I think with these three, I am ambivalent. Is that the right word? So I would be happy with any one of those three because we can each invoke them in our own way.
Okay. So Peter,
yeah, I can go with the unicorn. I like unicorns.
well, it ties in with Richard's idea at the beginning of the talk, because even though it's not named on the website, and his images were from the website, there are unicorn logos, you know, unicorn images on the website. So unicorn is present already within the work that we're doing. So it seems that unicorn is to be adopted. Lovely. Do we want to give it a name, or shall we call it unicorn?
I think just unicorn. Sorry.
Yeah, it's probably better.
All right, lovely. Does anybody here have the kind of artistic skills necessary to draw our own unicorn? No offers. Okay. We've made a decision then. Let the unicorn be with us. So what I would ask you to do then is to maybe close your eyes and then just try and form some kind of visual image of what the unicorn is for you. And we adopt the unicorn as our protection and guidance. If you want to agree, then please speak these words. So I want you to put it in your voice that you invoke the unicorn.
So I invoke the power and gentleness of the unicorn as our protector and guide.
Setup, perhaps?
I invoke peace, honesty, and magic with the unicorn.
Alvaro.
I invoke the one-pointed vision and the purity of the unicorn.
Heidi?
I invoke the beauty and intuitive power of the unicorn as our guide.
Sharon.
I invoke the guidance and the true essence of the unicorn and invite them to join us in our group exploration.
Lindsay?
I invoke the strength and courage of the unicorn to guide us through our journey.
Silvana?
I invoke the serenity and focus of the unicorn to guide us and protect us.
Look.
I invoke the evolutionary impulse of the unicorn to guide us and involve us.
Peter.
I invoke unicorn as protector.
Well, that was lovely, wasn't it? Thank you. That was really special. What I would also like to do is get a sense of what 7 means to each of us. So without going too much into explanations and so on, each of us can say what 7 is for us. And we'll go around. Maybe Richard would lead us through that.
For me, 7ness is simultaneously just beyond my reach and within my grasp. That's what I'm going to say right now.
Seda.
7 for me is a will. That's
Can you say that again? Your sound wasn't good.
the number of 7 for me is a will.
Elvin, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Peter.
7. The number 7 for me is a feeling of free movement. It brings me an association of earth and fire together. Yeah, but free movement.
Alvaro.
Well, I was born in 1977, so the 7's been quite a number for me. Yeah, it's been all over my life. And especially since the last 2 years, I've been, well, seeing number 7 all over. I try to understand some of Gurdjieff's approach to it. I didn't understand it very well, but I resonated with what he said. And I love his music. So I've been listening to, well, what he did with the Hartman. And yeah, the 7 has been all over my life. So it's quite an important figure.
Tansy?
So when I was thinking about this, weirdly what's been happening to me recently is poetry. And so I'll just like to read out, it's short, don't worry. So number 7 is ascension, a new dimension, a godly number guiding me to attention, to the good, the love, the beauty from up above, in direct line with my chakra system, Platonicism to kill my cynicism. From the deadly sins to the wonders of the world, like me you represent and unite both sides of the pole. In every darkness there is light, and we will not give up the fight. We will not give up our rights. We will prevail with you in our hearts. Number 7. Oh, number 7, can't you see? You are here, sent to me, a direct line from the divine, a magical gift to refine. I will make you mine and surrender to the climb. A journey yet to come, a journey just begun. Number 7.
Thank you. That's great. Sharon.
think I resonate most with what Richard said, that it's neither known nor unknown. A feeling of repelling and attracting at the same time.
Heidi.
Well, 7 is in all the addresses that I have ever lived on, in the shape of 34. So for me, it's a knowing that that we are home wherever we are on the planet, and at the same time, divine and connected to our highest self.
Thank you. Silvana.
I've connected to the number 7 or worked with it mostly through the idea of the chakras and yeah, just see it as this bridge from the material to the beyond, to the higher realms.
The bridge, yeah. And Loic.
So for me, the number 7 changes in signification or significance. It really never is, never really has one particular way of looking at the 7, but planetary wise, I always assign number 7 to Neptune. And an aspect of nudism for me, so it's weird, but it's just like there is a certain aspect of nakedness that I associate with the number 7. But mostly Neptune came to mind when it comes to 7 for me. And the chakras as well. Although not anymore. Before, yes. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. My birthday is the 7th of May, and I've worked with 7 planes of consciousness in Sufism and the 7 word system and the Elven Star. 7 is so central to everything that I am. It doesn't mean anything to me. It is me in a very deep sense. It's that realm of mystery and magic, which is paradox. It is that which we know and don't know somehow. Yeah, I go along with everything said today. Okay, so we're on the same page. We agree pretty much with the number 7, what it means. We're happy to allow the unicorn to be our guide in our work together. And we experience the energy associated with the unicorn during the process whereby we chose it. And I found that very beautiful and profound. It's quite a high energy. It's very light and yet grounded at the same time. That was my experience of it. Well, the star itself, does that simply symbolize 7 to us, or does it have anything else? Speak of the star, if you'd like to. Anyone?
I find this particular image, it's multi-dimensional. It incorporates and embraces both dark and light in many different facets. And I never tire of looking at it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Zeta?
I see with the star the a perfect, but it's also a limited.
Mm.
Again, an understanding of paradox, it seems. Yeah, that's good. Peter?
I see it as a center of radiation and reception at the same time.
Nice, yeah. Mm.
To me, it's sort kind of this changing representation based on point of view, because of each of the outer stars being shaded so differently. It's like depending on where your point of view is at, the same thing can look many different ways.
It came alive for me when I started playing around. I have not graphic design skills at all, but I took some very simplest possible line drawing of a 7-pointed star, and I put it into some software, Canva, I think, and just played around with all the buttons and bows and everything, and then I couldn't actually do it again. If you asked me to give you the essence, I couldn't. This is it. This is all we've got, even though it's imperfect. I couldn't do it again. But when I actually looked at it and I saw that central star upside down, when I kind of realized that it was as close as you can get to a yin yang symbol in straight lines, you know, with the blend of dark and light, and it's three-dimensional and hinting at other dimensions as well. I stumbled across it accidentally, you know, in this IT kind of magic. So that's how it came to us. Okay, well, I think we've got on the same page. We've got the sigil, we've got the number 7, we've got the unicorn. What we haven't actually affirmed, what is the name by which we will know ourselves as a group? What are we? Who are we? I'll make a proposal that the first 3 words might well be Elven Star Magic, but it's not quite enough without something to follow that, and I'm willing to consider other possibilities.
Put Ian's on the end. Elven Star Magicians.
Anybody want to agree or disagree? Seta likes it. Peter?
Yeah, I like that too. That's okay. Yeah, I think that's good.
Anybody got any reservations about that title?
I feel like instinctively I was like, no. But the more I think about it, the more I warm up to the idea. I don't know. Yeah.
When you said yes, you shrugged your shoulders, which is an indication of no. What's your instinct?
I don't really say. I feel like I'm just thinking of like a magician, like a rabbit out of a hat, the magicians.
The comic, the stage magician.
Yeah. But obviously that's just personal to me.
No, it's not. It's universal. If you say magician to anyone down the pub, they won't think there's somebody doing what we're doing.
I'd be more adverse to go like a circle or something, like the Elven Star Circle or something like that.
Elven Star Magicians, Elven Star Circle.
Crew, the Elven Star Crew.
Did you say?
That's a joke.
Say crew, yeah. Seda?
Witches of the Elvenland.
How do the men think about being known as a witch? Is that a gender specific word or not?
Not for me. I don't have a problem with that. It's probably because English is not my first language, so I don't.
It's unusual in English to call a man a witch. It'd be called a
Yeah,
warlock.
I know, yeah, the warlock or whatever. No, man, yeah, witch. Well, in Spanish is the same. Yeah. They call me bruja. I'm fine with that.
Peter.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing with it. I mean, if you're going to put these, if we're filming this or recording this, I don't feel very comfortable with that. Just because of other people seeing it and with just mental connotations. I mean, I don't even know whether it's interesting that we keep recording depending on the type of magic that we're talking about.
Very good point. Do you want these videos made public? There are ups and downs sided to this decision.
Yeah, I won't put my face on if we do.
So I'll take that.
And I might change my name as well.
Yeah, interestingly, I kind of agree, and I kind of forgotten that it was being filmed, actually, and I feel like I'm quite vulnerable in these meetings. Like, I come across like nobody else would see me, so maybe that's my issue. But yeah, I guess maybe not. Maybe yeah.
I've been studying today with the recorded nature of these and resisting that.
I have no problem with them being recorded for our use, but I have a problem with them being public.
Okay, is that a general decision then? We'd like to record it for our own personal use, but not made public.
Yeah, I feel like it should be for the people involved in the moment, and I think anyone can be involved, but yeah, maybe not out in the public.
Yep, I agree with that.
Right, there will be some bits that might be, if I'm explaining a principle or something, I might take that, edit it out and make a little video of that, but otherwise I'll keep these private from now on and take the other one down from public view.
There's a software you can get, I don't think it's terribly expensive, called Snagit. And Snagit will record just you, James. So you would have to play it after it's been recorded as a general group. But then when you're playing it, you can re-record it with just you showing. So should you be doing it for teaching purposes, you can get rid of the rest of us and just have you.
Okay.
It's Snaggit. Richard, I see you making notes.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, and the name of the group? Bearing in mind now that it's private.
May I throw in something that incorporates the unicorn? So could we be the Elven, I forget now, Elven Star Magic Unicorns?
Heidi?
We can't hear you. You're muted.
I was going to suggest something like that. I'm also comfortable with the.
We've lost you again. Your microphone's cutting in and out.
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Yes. I'm comfortable with circle and also with Elven Star unicorns or anything of the sort, but the witch thing is more complicated to associate with for me.
Yeah, I don't really feel like a witch. I could be a wizard, I guess, but witch doesn't do anything for me.
It makes it a bit gimmicky in my mind. I don't know.
Can you imagine yourself, James, as an Elven Star unicorn? Or is that too presumptuous?
I think of unicorns as higher beings. I don't think of myself as a unicorn. I mean, if the word unicorn was a part of our group title, that would be fine. But not to identify myself as a unicorn. I don't think I would do that.
Loic.
Actually, I was really intrigued by magic with a K, and you guys saying magicians, but it's not written the same.
No.
So I was wondering, sharing has sharing with a Y, so magician with a K. So I actually had a question about the K aspect. What is the difference between this magic C and CK?
Well, magic without the K is used to distinguish the entertainers, the stage performers who do tricks with bunny rabbits and stuff. Whereas if you do magic with a K, then it's ritual.
Got it.
The real deal.
I feel like magician, the word magicians in our title kind of, yeah, like I said before, takes what we're doing away and makes me think of I'm repeating myself, but yeah, rabbit out of a hat kind of thing.
I tend to agree with you, actually. I don't really like being called a witch, a magician, or a unicorn, particularly.
Alvaro, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, about magic. I believe it was Crowley who did that difference, no? Aleister Crowley, the magician. And it's got to do with Kabbalah as well, because the K has a number. So it got to do with all the religion he invented, Thelema and that thing. So, well, it was for differentiating from stage magic and ceremonial magic, no? But I do agree with the circle. I rather have that name. Circle is a good shape. Is well everything, no?
How about circle with a K?
Even better. Yeah, exactly. I love that.
See,
CIRKLE.
I like that.
That's good.
I like that too.
I don't.
No, I don't know. No, you don't.
What about an explorer, which is always my default, an explorer or an adventurer or something along those lines?
We're reached the end of our time together, but if everybody's happy to stay on, we can stay on to complete this process. But if you feel you need to go, then do feel free to go.
What about unicorn circle?
Instead of Elven Star, do you
Yeah.
mean just unicorn?
Unicorn circle, Elven star circle would also work for me. Just trying to.
Yeah, I really like that. I think the unicorn circle, that sounds good. Sort of, it's a meeting sort of, so it's comfortable.
Well, it distinguishes this group from other Elven Star practitioners because there's an Elven Star masterclass that some of us will be in. But the Unicorn Circle is this particular group doing this particular work. It's more the essence rather than the outer expression. So it makes some sense to me. So would somebody prefer something different from Unicorn Circle?
Doesn't feel quite complete to me, but I don't really have anything else to suggest, so I'd go with it.
Why don't you like the circle with the K, James?
One of my abiding things in life that I'm really, really stubbornly hot on is protecting the English language from abuse. I hate the way our beloved language has been corrupted by computers. And I mean, I spelled magic with a K because magic without the K is ambiguous. But a circle of people is brought together for the purposes of magic. That's what it is. There's no ambiguity. If you're a circle of people, then that's what happens. I don't see the need for the K. It looks horrible to me anyway. It's like sick, you know. So you can take that as a veto. Anybody can improve upon Unicorn Circle. Tansy likes it, but she says there's something missing. Perhaps we'll put a green top hat on the U.
Yeah.
Like an umlaut.
Or maybe even just the. Maybe it's just missing the unicorn circle instead of just or was that what it was?
The Unicorn Circle.
The unicorn circle. Yeah.
You're getting numbers. Anybody quick with numbers? What's the difference in numerology? Anybody can work that out quickly or not? Are you familiar with the numbers? No, you're not. That's probably my thing, isn't it?
I'm familiar with it, but I can't do it quickly. I've got a spreadsheet, surprisingly or unsurprisingly.
Do you know them? T is 2.
I don't know them that quickly. I can work it out though. I actually might put it into my soul plan software because every name has a vibration, and it would be interesting to know whether the unicorn circle vibrates with you, James.
I've got numbers written down. I don't really think that English language does very well with numerology. It's not onomatopoeic language, but it seems to work.
There are 7 letters in unicorn. That's good news.
And this is my grimoire. Anybody got a grimoire? Anybody know what a grimoire is? The Book of Secrets is also called. I have been writing in this book in one form or another since about 1984. And I still keep it, all of my magical spells and understandings and so on.
But the Book of Shadows.
It's a Book of Shadows by a different name, yeah.
Book of Shadows.
I call it Nasruddin's Bible, actually. Okay, T is 2, H is 8, I think. E is 5, so you've added 15. Unicorn is 3, 5, 9, 3, 6 for O. R is 9, I think, and N is 5. So unicorn is 8, 17, 20, 26, 31, 40. Circle is 3, 9, 9, 3, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 9, 27, 32, 6, 4, 5. So we change 9 for unicorn circle into 6 for the unicorn circle. 6 is the number of Venus, which has been receiving quite a lot of votes earlier in the day. So you people who are voting for the rose and for the planet Venus and so on, you'll be pleased to change it from unicorn circle to the unicorn circle. Shall we go with that?
Yep.
Lovely work. So we've agreed who we are, what is our guardian protector, and what is our sigil. Therefore, we have a direction, although we don't know what it is yet, consistent with the number 7, both known and unknown simultaneously, the paradox. Lovely, thank you. Very good work today. Richard, want to wrap us up?
Thank you all for being here. I think it's been a fabulous meeting. Go well. See you all next week.